Well, good morning and welcome to Devon Live from the Met Office here in Exeter. We're talking today about the extraordinary weather that we've been having. We're talking about why it's so hot, the fact that we had amazing thunderstorms yesterday, and also whether it's set to last, of course, which is the big question. Joining me this morning is Alex Deacon, a meteorologist here at the Met Office. Lovely to have you with us.
Thanks very much. Thanks for inviting me along, Matt.
Before we start, if you have any questions for Alex about the weather that we've been having, and weather phenomena and things like that, then please just pop them in the Facebook comments and we'll try and get around to reading some of those out. So let's start, Alex, with the current weather. I mean, we are outside Met Office today.
Yes.
Stunning weather. Why are we having this?
It is glorious, isn't it? It's warm here, but we're not experiencing the highest temperatures across the UK. That is a little bit further east today and particularly tomorrow. The basic reason why we're having fine weather at the moment, high pressure controlling our weather to the east of the UK, across Europe, big area of high pressure. We've got low pressure, which normally brings rain, sitting out to the west, and we're kind of stuck in between, and that low pressure out to the west is just drawing up warm air. So the warm air is coming from Africa, across Spain, across France. It's heating up day on day. Southerly winds bring us the warm air, and that's why we're seeing such glorious sunny weather at the moment and the high temperatures.
Is that sort of weather system normal for this time of year?
Yeah, it's how we get hot spells. It's how we get heat waves in the UK. It's a classic scenario for heat waves. High pressure to the east, low pressure to the west. We're in the middle, southerly winds. We need the air to come from a warm source. It makes sense, right? So warm air from Africa coming over Spain and France, that's the classic scenario. Actually, last year when we had a very long, fine summer, we didn't really experience the extreme heat. The highest temperature was only 35 degrees or so. And that's because the setup wasn't quite the same. We just tended to have high pressure sitting right over us, so the winds just kind of milled around. We never got the real southerly flow. So this is the kind of classic setup that we get this time of year when we have hot spells. But typically they don't last all that long. It's the classic 3 fine days and the thunderstorm. You get the hot weather, and then you get the cold front coming through that brings the thunderstorm and brings it all to an end.
So you mentioned about last year and how last year's weather was slightly different.
Yeah.
But it was a glorious summer last year.
It was, yes.
Weeks and weeks on end of lovely weather. It's not been too bad this year as well so far. We've had plenty of sunny spells.
Yes.
But it's two different weather systems causing that weather,
two kind of different setups really, ever so slight, just a subtle difference in that. Means whether you get the extreme temperatures like we're seeing at the moment this week, or whether you see slightly more mixed weather. We did, June wasn't as fine this year as it was last year. If people were off in June this year, it was a lot cloudier. There was quite a bit of rain around. July so far down here has been very dry, and again that's to do with high pressure. It's a subtle shift in that high pressure, which is of course all to do with the jet stream, which is that fast-moving ribbon of air high up, and that's shifted to the north, allowing the high pressure to move in. But subtle shift in that high, subtle shift in wind direction makes a big difference.
So talk to us a little bit about the jet stream, because everyone knows the jet stream, how it causes our weather, but you said it's the fact that it's shifted north that's allowed this air to come up from the south. Is that right? Yeah,
the jet stream is kind of like, we kind of think of it as the weather maker. It's a fast-moving ribbon of air high up where the aeroplanes fly. It's why you get faster from America to the UK than from the UK to America. It's pretty much always there. It peps up in the winter and it drives storms our way, drives intense areas of low pressure. In the summer it tends to be weaker, but it can just meander around a little bit more, and when it's a bit further south it brings the low pressures and it brings the cloud and the rain, and when it moves to the north, that's when you get high pressure moving in that tends to settle the weather down. That's when you get longer spells of fine and sunny weather. Often happens at least once during the summer, but sometimes it can kind of get stuck in a rut. Now what drives the jet stream, that's the next question, right? And that's a really big, complex meteorological problem that people in this building are trying to solve at the moment. Because people are working on research with that at the moment, because climate change will have an impact on the jet stream and what controls the jet stream. So it's an ongoing area of research and one that we're looking at. So great.
We've had a comment from Julie. Keep the comments coming in. Thank you very much for all of them. Saying she remembers as a kid they had fab hot summers and then snow in winter.
Yes.
And there has been a trend recently that we've had quite mild, rainy winters over the last couple, apart from that. And then we've had sort of pretty drab summers, and we had a spell of, or that's how it's perceived. We've had rainy summers.
Yes.
Is there a changing trend at all?
There's a lot of rose-tinted spectacles when it comes to summers of the past. Everyone remembers them always being like this, endless. That's not necessarily the case, but there's no doubt that our climate is changing. There's a distinct difference between weather and climate. Now, what we're experiencing day on day is weather. Our climate, you have to measure that over a period of years, decades. So there's a difference between weather and climate, but our climate over overall is definitely changing. And one of the main feeds of that is obviously higher temperatures. And higher temperatures through the winter makes snow less likely, so that would be one feature. Milder, wetter winters as well, because warmer air, with our climate warming up, warmer air holds more moisture, so you're going to get heavier rain. But also you're raising the base level of the temperatures as well, so when you get the extremes, so when it is really hot, it's really, really hot because the base level's risen, so you're more likely to break records when you get the extremes. So our climate is definitely changing, and has done over the past 30 years. Just a recent study from last year actually, that we raised the temperature by 0.7 degrees in the decade from 2008 to 2017 compared to the 30-year average. So we're seeing these trends of temperatures rising. You know, individual winters, individual summers, they're going to vary, and you are still going to get cold spells in winter, and like we had the beast from the east a couple of years ago, you're still going to get snow, but the overall trend is for winters to be milder and to see more extreme events during summer.
So climate is different to weather.
Yes.
But because of the change in climate, we're more likely to see this sort of weather.
Absolutely. The question we always get, is this hot spell to do with climate change? And what we do here at the Met Office, and what all meteorologists do, is something called an attribution study. So after a hot spell, after an extreme rainy spell, after a big snowfall event, then we look at all the data, look at all the observations, and an attribution study, really clever, uses complex climatological models and attributes how much more likely those kind of things are because of man-made climate change. We can go back to what the atmosphere was like pre-industrial levels, before we started pumping so much carbon dioxide into the atmosphere, and we can make really highly accurate scientific judgments on how much more likely these extremes are. Now we can't do that with this week because it hasn't happened yet, and it takes a while. But what we have done is last summer, when we had the extreme heat, the hottest summer on record, the attribution study showed that last summer, a summer like last summer, is 30 times more likely compared to pre-industrial levels. So the human influences make a summer like that 30 times more likely, and all the projections now are suggesting that a summer like last summer, by the 2050s, will be commonplace. That will be an average
So you
summer.
can see the link between human influence and climate.
So you can't just say one day, one specific week, for example, is definitely to do with climate change, but it just makes it far, far more likely.
Quite a few people, including Jessica, talking about the thunder and lightning that we had yesterday.
Wow, yeah.
Absolutely incredible. And there are some images about, there are some images on our website of the amazing thunderstorm that we had. Why was that? Why does this weather cause thunderstorms?
Yeah, well, it's a classic combination. So it's all the ingredients are there. For a thunderstorm, you need heat, and you need humidity, and you need moisture, and it all comes together and creates thunderstorms. For long, hot, sunny days like today, you need the air to be a little bit dry, but you add a bit of moisture into that, you add a bit of energy from the temperatures rising, you get thunderstorms. Last night was a classic one. We imported them from northern Spain. Actually, the storm started developing about this time yesterday, and they just moved up over the Bay of Biscay, intensified. Some grew up out of northern France as well, because the land there just heats up, and then they come our way. So it's a classic kind of summer setup. One of the things about yesterday's thunderstorms, they were called elevated thunderstorms. So a normal thunderstorm, or one that's homegrown across the UK, would start at the ground, the air heats up, it warms up, it turns into cloud, it gets all the way up through the atmosphere, and it turns into a thunderstorm. Yesterday was an elevated storm, so it actually didn't start at the ground, it started kind of higher up in the atmosphere. And that's why we didn't have huge amounts of rainfall with the storms last night. So they put on an impressive show. So there was a lot of lightning, a lot of flashes of lightning, but there wasn't a huge amount of rainfall. And fortunately, they were moving through as well, so it didn't cause too many flooding issues. But one thing people may have noticed last night as well from the lightning, actually not a lot of it was coming to the ground, and that's because they were higher up. Most of the lightning was what we call cloud to cloud. So the lightning between the clouds, they were having fun up there with flashes of lightning, and the rumbles of thunder were all higher up. So we didn't get that many strikes down on the ground. So yeah, summer is a classic time. High temperatures, that's where you get the energy from, and you add a bit of moisture into that, and it all goes back.
And a lot of people talking, very finally, a lot of people in our comments asking, is it set to last? Is this weather set to last? You said it's the classic 3 days of sunshine and a torrential downpour. Is that what we're going towards?
That's where the saying comes from, because that would be a classic summer heat wave. This is very different, actually, because we had the thunderstorms after only a couple of days of them. So it's not quite the same. Meteorology is never quite the same. We have all these sayings, and they never quite fit in with the actual science of the atmosphere, because it's a very complex thing. So actually, here in Devon, we're going to have the best of the weather for the next few days. The temperatures will peak tomorrow. in the east, and we're talking in the London area 39 Celsius. Now let's put that into context. That's going to smash the July all-time record. Records going back over 100 years. The current July record is 36.7 Celsius, so we're expecting to beat that. The all-time
is that confident that you can?
Yeah, pretty confident that we will beat that record tomorrow. And the all-time temperature record, which is from August 2003, 38.5 Celsius. And we're expecting probably 39 tomorrow. So a 60% chance that we will beat that all-time record tomorrow in the east, not in Devon. This is in the London area. And actually here it's going to be much more comfortable. I don't want to. I've lived in London for 18 years. I don't want to be in the tube at 30 degrees, let alone 38. I can imagine it's so much nicer down here. Down here it's sort of low to mid 20s, very pleasant. And on the beach it'll be just lovely with sea breezes and that kind of thing. So the southwest can have the best of the weather. There's the small chance of a thunderstorm or two again tomorrow night, Thursday night, but actually here Friday, Saturday, probably Sunday as well. The weather's set fair, so not the extreme heat here, just nice summer weather. So enjoy it, but UV levels will be high, so you'll need the sunscreen on. Don't forget that, sun hat, sunglasses, and make sure you stay hydrated with water. Drink plenty of water over the next few days as well. Lots of advice on the Met Office website. And follow our Twitter feed as well for the very latest on the temperatures, on exactly how high we're going to get.
Alex, thank you so much for explaining that all to us this morning. Thank you, and you can keep right up to date, of course, on the Met Office website, and we'll have updates for you as well on devonlive.com. Thank you very much for watching, and have a wonderful day, and enjoy the sunshine.